games give us a taste of what's to come in the game. Of course, some go overboard with this and spoil a lot of important plot points. Some might spoil a few, some show you the entire game, which is ridiculous. This list has my top 10 video games that spoil the game. While I understand that openings have no context behind them when you first play the game, it's still funny to go back and see just how much it gives away. I will make sure to point out some of the big spoilers in the introductions, but not everything, so feel free to add more in the comments. And yes, you guessed it, be prepared for some major spoilers ahead. Number 10, Persona 3 FES. While Persona 3's opening on its own spoils it, the opening for FES drums the fact into you in a less than subtle way that something major, like death, will probably happen to the main character. In Persona 3's opening, the text Memento Mori, which means remember you are mortal, hinted at the fact. FES takes it up a notch by showing you key cutscenes leading up to said death. Another hint, if you know some Japanese, the song Kimi no Kyoku is about a person coping with the death of a loved one. Hint, hint, hint. It also breaks one of the typical RPG laws in that some battle scenes are shown without the main blue-haired protagonist and instead has Aigis in the position. Number 9, Tales of Symphonia. All of the scenes in this opening actually happen in the game. It also shows major parts of the game, such as Sheena activating the mana cannon to the confrontation with Kratos. Why is Lloyd looking so defensive when he appears? He's part of the team. Why would he... Plus the shot of this person is actually possibly the final boss of the game, pretty much. Woo! Subtle. Number 8, Final Fantasy IV. Final Fantasy IV has gotten a lot of love with the new remakes and whatnot, but the opening paired with it gives away some really big parts of the game, not to mention the journey to the goddamn moon hinted at the end of the opening. Really? They had to spoil that part? Why not just pan up to the moon all mysterious-like? Anyways, the emotional transformation of Cecil to a paladin is shown blatantly in the opening, along with the appearance of an adult Rydia, which could bring up a lot of questions for newcomers, asking why she's older in the opening and not a young girl like in that first half of the game. It's okay to have spoilers that are somewhat vague, it's bad to have obvious contradictions to confuse new players. Number 7, Lunar Silver Star Story Complete. Love the singing in this. Very well done. Now onto the spoilers. It is heavily implied with the little white dragon flying on the screen is Null, the main character's little mascot companion dude. Oh look, he transforms into a badass dragon. How about that? This opening also has the transformation of Alex, the protagonist, into some cool armor, which you find out soon in the game that it relates to the Dragon Master. The great part that I find in this opening is right at the end, a bunch of characters appear. Guess what? Those are the only characters who will stick with you to the very end, so say hello to your endgame party members. I do really like this opening though. Number 6, The World Ends With You. Another opening that relies heavily on not knowing the context of the images shown. If you haven't played The World Ends With You and you see this opening, it just looks super awesome and the music is super cool. What you know later on is that all the major chapter spoilers and subtle or not so subtle hints on the various characters you encounter are in this. This includes 2 shikis hinting at one being a fake, showing Joshua entirely with his subtle evil grin. One of the characters' deaths is shown, more hints hints on another character's death close to the first death, and the main character's death and fate. Again, this heavily relies on the player having finished the game, but it is still packed full of spoilers.
Morning rays, years and cranes, turn to the west, the west, honest, there wasn't a dream. Bell society, unity, cornet, spinning it, and sound flows, flow through your home, trapped by the power of the dream. The power is yet unknown. Morning rays, years and cranes.
Number 5. Valkyrie Profile. This opening isn't long, and yet it holds a huge plot point when you pursue the true ending of the game, also called Ending A. The opening contains characters vital to the true ending, that is Arngrim, Lucian, Mystina, and Lizard, the crazy bastard. What slaps you in the face with a huge spoiler is right at the end, when Lenneth, the main character, is standing above a girl that is quite obviously her. Now this game holds off on a lot of details regarding Lenneth, yet the opening shows who she was, the people that affect her ending, and it basically spells out who you need to get that ending if you want it. Also, it's so creepy how Lizard kisses that homunculus of Lenneth. Yeah, that's also another spoiler. Woo! Number 4. Baton Kaitos.
A long, long time ago it was, before people began to dwell in the sky.
There are so many warnings for this game about its opening sequence. If you have not played the game, avoid this intro like the plague. I'm serious. The game has great plot twists and scenes that are emotional and memorable. What breaks this all apart is the opening of the game. It spoils the major plot twist, shows near-end game material, as well as stuff that happens after the final boss. Why would you do that? It just tears the game apart and heavily hints at the main character's dubious background. It basically writes out the plot of the game for you, what tasks they must do, the failed attempts, and they mention their last hope. Terms that should be said in the game that are pretty damn important. If you want to enjoy this game, avoid the opening.
Someday you will know who you really are.
Number 3. Nier.
Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry. Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace. How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord. Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow Lord. Now pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!
When I went back and watched this, I was shocked at how much was revealed. For starters, the music playing in the background is the final boss music. Right at the beginning, before the song gets going, you see a skull monster pinned to the wall, which is a huge story point, which changes one character forever, one of the 4 major bosses in the second arc, fucking Emil's death, oh dear lord, Popola's betrayal speech, and Kaine turning into a shade. Wow. Then there's a montage that contains boatloads of death, boss spoilers, ending clips from the various endings you get, Yona looking older, and really? The final boss fight? Sure, why not? The last thing is a bit more vague and not really obvious, but the garbled noises don't exactly sound evil, more like they are suffering cries, which should be obvious to those who have acquired the second ending in the game. Number 2. Parasite Eve. Could be more blatant than Nier's opening. How about editing the opening to have all the chapter titles in the game? That's exactly what Parasite Eve does. Hell, it gives away all of the cool monster and boss transformations, and giving a shitload of time to focus on the freight ship. Gee, I wonder what important thing happens there with all the cool explosions and Aya escaping and whatnot. Still, the worst part is the chapter name giveaways, as it tells what will happen throughout the whole game. Chapter 4's Conception title kinda gives away a huge part of the game, that the main evil is probably preggers and will give birth to something. Oh look, it happens. Oh wait, there's more? It's the final boss? Oh wow, how subtle. Number 1. Zone of the Enders 2.
Human beings have realized various forms of energy. Civilizations have progressed with them. So where does such energy like Metatron lead our civilization?
Do I even need to say anything for this one? This game's opening is infamously long, a whopping 7 minutes and 30 seconds long. But why? Because it shows you the entire game. I do not joke when I say that. It gives you a semi-chronological view of the story, complete with dialogue from the game that is super definitely spoiler-worthy, all the animated cutscenes within the game, the major fights, the story bit where the main character Dingo is critically wounded and hooked up to the mech he pilots in order to live. Seriously, just watch it and you'll get the whole game without even having to play it.
The machine supplements your heart and lungs. That power comes from Jehuti. You will die if you leave Jehuti.
The performance of these two bodies is even. But to match Anubis, Jehuti lacks one thing. A program to bring out the full performance of Jehuti. That depends on the skill of the runner.
Get out of my way!